I take pride in Sigma being able to go to places which no one else dares going to so early. I believe in this wholeheartedly. If you really love doing what you do, you don't really have to work a single day in your life. And I try to look after my health, right? Having a family helps because I don't do it just for myself. I do it also to remain as healthy as possible so I can lift my daughters for as long as possible. So I'm also motivated by them. We love to think global as Sigma, but we love to act local. So Sigma is all about timing. Sigma is all about launching in emerging markets where the industry truly needs us to be. And I look forward to welcome you to our show with open arms.
Hi, Eman. Thank you for joining.
Pleasure being with you.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's been a very busy year, and this is the last week before we reconvene all with our families. So it's an exciting time.
It's an exciting time, a festive season. And, of course, all of my questions will be around Sigma, since you are one of the most popular persons in the industry, and Sigma is one of the most popular events. So from your point of view as a founder of Sigma, how was the last big event in Rome for you?
It was great. Against all odds, we managed to pull off our biggest conference yet, and being in Rome gives us great courage because Rome is what it is. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It's a city which everyone wants to visit, especially outside Europe. And for that reason, we have decided to rebrand our show in Rome from Sigma Central Europe to Sigma World, because we believe that brand better reflects our mandate to reach out far outside Europe. We want the gaming industry from LATAM, from North America, from Africa, from Asia. We want them to see in Rome a global summit that they can relate to.
That's very symbolic, since I think Rome it was the center of Roman Empire. So there is lots of symbolism here.
Not only this is a mantra that we want to push next year. All roads lead to Rome, not only for the gaming industry, but starting next year, and you will see this as the promotion comes along in 2026, we decided to take more pavilions. We will have 8 pavilions. And we will not focus exclusively on iGaming, but we'll also open pavilions for new streams of affiliation. So we will launch Affiliate Grand Slam, a dedicated pavilion for affiliates from outside gaming. Why? Because we want a fresh bloodline of traffic coming into Sigma. And we'll also open a pavilion dedicated to frontier technology, artificial intelligence, blockchain, crypto, Internet of Things, DeFi, GameFi, quantum computing, big data, fintech, all of that, even that from outside gaming, you will find at Sigma World come November in Rome. So even from an element of frontier technology, all roads will be leading to Rome in 2026.
At the same time, they are leading to Asia, since after Rome, you had also not a small event in Sri Lanka. How was it? And since the events are going one by one, how do you manage to recover after such a hectic schedule, after such hectic events? What's your secret?
There's no secret. It's good processes. We have a very strong team who I can rely on with confidence. We're over 250 people working relentlessly at Sigma. So investing in talent and nurturing talent, I think, is very, very important to be able to do a show every 6 weeks, literally. And I take pride in Sigma being able to go to places which no one else dares going to so early. When we went into Dubai 5 years ago, people thought we were crazy. But look at us now. Look at the industry now brimming with activity in the MENA region. So being there when it matters the most, in the driver's seat, helping the industry come and learn from each other is very important. We nailed it in Dubai. When we launched 3 years ago in Brazil, Brazil was still an echo in people's mind. Look at Brazil now. Everyone wants to go to Brazil. We did the same when we launched in Manila, also 5 years ago. Now we have the largest show in Asia and the Philippines. The same when we went to Africa. There wasn't an expo before we went to Africa 4 years ago. We started with Kenya. Now we settled in South Africa. And come 2026, when we're launching the show in Mexico, mark my words, people in the future, the delegates in the future, will recognize our efforts to step into Mexico City in 2026. Because Mexico, I believe, is going to become the next craze, just like Brazil became one a few years ago. So Sigma is all about timing. Sigma is all about launching in emerging markets where the industry truly needs us to be.
And we are looking forward to participate in as many events by Sigma as possible as an exhibitor. Yeah, we enjoy the events all the time, and we'll stick to Sigma as well, of course. A little bit personal question. You are in a good shape. Could you please share maybe a personal rule to keep up like that, again, in such a crazy industry like iGaming?
There's no secrets, right? If it's doing the the obvious, eating well, sleeping well. There's a lot in medtech that's coming in and becoming mainstream. So I love to do some IVs. I love to do my hyperbaric chamber. I love to do all of that whenever I have the time. And I try to look after my health, right? Having a family helps because I don't do it just for myself. I do it also to remain as healthy as possible so I can lift my daughters for as long as possible. So I'm also motivated by them to stay the lane.
Family motivates us a lot. Thanks for sharing. Again, no secrets. Everything is natural. And I think it's more about hard work. And
it is hard work, as you're saying, yes, but I believe in this wholeheartedly. If you really love doing what you do, you don't really have to work a single day in your life. And if you know how to delegate well, if you have a strong team around you that can handle tasks as they come along, then it's not as hard as you may think. Honestly, if you love doing what you're doing, I don't really like this term of work-life balance. I was never a fan of that saying. I look more at work-life integration. So if I'm doing what I love to do, I don't have to work a single day in my life.
Yeah, that's inspiring, and I agree that one needs to love this the strongest motivation. But on another hand, I agree with another you're saying, because when I was preparing for this interview, I watched some of your previous ones, and you told some very strong words that I really liked, personally. That one of your main motivations is money, and this is so honest. It was so natural, and I like it because of the honesty. Because money is something that is driving almost everything.
I think I know which podcast you're referring to, and I had mentioned, yes, money. And money is one way of seeing it, right? But sometimes it does have a connotation to it. To me, I was motivated by financial freedom. When you do not have something, when that something is preventing you from reaching your full potential, then you want it more than anyone else. You want it more than anything else. And to me, in my upbringing as a kid, having his torn uniform, or as a child not having the toys I wanted, or as an athlete not being able to have the supplements, the training that I could have had to become an elite athlete. So all those situations growing up made me want financial freedom. So that became my mantra. I was driven by financial freedom. And now that I have it to a certain extent, my motivation has grown with it, right? It's not anymore about financial freedom. It's about positive impact these days.
I know that you are friends with Dinos from Altena, and we've also had an interview with him. And we are asking our participants to ask a question. What question would you ask another participant, a C-level from this industry? But you answered his question, because he also asked something like that about motivation, which is not only money, but what else? But you told that there is lots of things on top of that as well, which is not possible to compare. But again, when we are hiring, we are looking for hungry people who are hungry for everything, for money, for I don't know, visibility, for success. But yeah, getting back to our industry, and the event industry around iGaming is very crowded right now, and many try but fail. We have lots of different exhibitions, conferences, awards. But I don't know, how did you manage to do it, to get to this level of exposure in the niche today?
Look, you say it's cluttered, and I can understand where that's coming from. But let's not forget, we're talking about a global mandate. You have gaming companies who are servicing the entire world. They're everywhere. Is the calendar cluttered for them? Don't they need to be close to their clients, to their partners? Should they all rely on conferences in Europe to meet their clients in Africa, their clients in Asia, their clients in Latin America? Are the European shows the only shows that should remain in global as Sigma? But we love to act local. And this is the reason why, when everyone else went into North America 4 or 5 years ago, we find some amazing shows in North America after Europe. We decided to go the rest of the world. We decided to launch shows in emerging markets where the industry needed us, where the industry needed to sit in those host cities and listen not only to the players, but to the suppliers, to the operators, to the affiliates from the region. These shows that we organize outside of tier 1 first world host cities, they serve a very important function. It's all delegates from the region. We're talking about a region between 5 countries: India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Between those 5, a quarter of the world's population, 2 billion people. Now you tell me, is the show in Sri Lanka extra? Should we remove it from the world calendar? of gaming events, or is it serving a function to really address regional gaming in South Asia? You're entitled to sit on either side of the fence. We strongly believe that we need to be there, even if all the other conferences prefer to stay in Europe. I feel that we need to be there as well. Against all odds, knowing that there's a busy calendar, you will keep finding us in those emerging markets.
Going out of the comfort zone, yeah, one of the best thing to progress, and that's what you're actually doing. And I briefly mentioned the way we are, our criteria for the teammates. One of them, of course, one of the criteria. But we also notice that the generations are changing, and the younger people that are coming, and we are having interviews, job interviews with them, they are different. We are working with them, and they are different. And I personally see some things that are really, really good. So in your opinion, do you notice this difference? Do you recruit younger generation in your teams? And what differences do you see in these between the older and younger generation in iGaming?
That's a great question, and one which I haven't put, too much thought. And I do feel that there's an abundance of everything these days. So the way this generation from the past 10, 20 years thinks is very, very different from the generation that I was brought up in, the 80s. Very different. I'm not saying one is better than the other, for God's sake. But yes, even myself as a founder, as an employer, I definitely need to be mindful of the fact that just because I had some struggles and the generation of today doesn't necessarily have them, should not diminish or increase the way I perceive ours. Yes, different, but not necessarily less or more, if that makes sense.
It makes, and yeah, I agree with you, of course.
And then I'll give you an example, right? Again, in my time, the sole drive was financial freedom, to make money. I see a lot of new recruits these days who find fulfillment, who really enjoy the aspect of the foundation. Within the Sigma group, we have a very strong arm that is all about positive impact, giving back. New recruits would choose a company A over company B because of its CSR efforts, because of the positive impact, the net positive impact that company A will have over company B. So it's not purely driven by the paycheck, the monthly paycheck, but it's also driven by other factors. This was unheard of 40 years ago, 30 years ago.
Getting back to the generations, you mentioned your time. What would you tell to yourself 15 years younger, for our younger audience?
Yeah. Something I wish I started before was surrounding myself with mentors. You'd be surprised. A lot of people who have achieved something in life, they really don't mind passing it forward, supporting younger generations, younger folks who have the fire in them. Whenever I see someone who has that passion, that drive, that fire, which I could relate to when I had that same fire in my teens, pure, unhindered drive to do something. You don't see it often, but when you see it, you can spot an entrepreneur when you see one. So whenever I meet these younger folks, I love to give them all the day and time that I have available. So this is what I would say to the younger ones. Do not shy away to ask for advice. Do not shy away from surrounding yourself with mentors, because they will help you avoid mistakes, which costs you months and years in your entrepreneurial journey.
Since we are a slot game development company, and of course I understand that you are far from slot games, but at least probably you have some understanding of them. I have my certain impression of the slot games industry, and I was thinking that something's wrong. Something's definitely wrong. But in your opinion, is everything okay, or do you feel that the change is needed here
in the game industry?
In the game industry, slot game industry in particular, yeah.
Yeah, look, it's very difficult to predict the next big hit. Starburst did it. Book of Ra and other slot games managed to carve out a slice of the cake for themselves. Then came, which in my opinion is the greatest success story, which is Aviator. They had seen a trend of the crash game industry picking up in Georgia, and they were vociferous in pushing their own crash game to the rest of the world. And they were proven right. So if there's good mathematics, if there's good graphics front end, if there's good gamification, I think there's a huge opportunity. in the gamification space. I live in Limassol. I'm surrounded by game development companies, World of Warcraft, FIFA, and the way they see gamification is miles ahead, in my opinion, from the online gambling industry. Yes, you have a lot of demand for, I call them taxi driver games, simple slot games, which are consumed by 35 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus. But let's not forget, you have the new generations coming up who are more savvy, more demanding, who think differently. And I think there's a huge opportunity there for new crypto games. And the market is free for all, right? It's free for all, but it's to an extent, because we see also the way that the market is being engulfed, this time not by affiliation. And so 10 years ago, when I joined the industry, it was a lot of affiliates generating traffic to the operator. Nowadays, SEO traffic is being slowly eaten up by influencer marketing. So you have streamers, you have influencers who are not only working with operators, but they're working directly with the game provider. So if the mechanics is right, if the graphics are good, if the player can easily relate to the game, also thanks to gamification, at least stickiness through gamification. I think if you have enough streamers, if you have enough influencers, even from outside gaming, to embrace your game and push your game, there's a big opportunity there for the one who has what it takes to hit those check marks.
These are very important words for us as game developers. Thanks for sharing. And okay, this is about the games, but what about the whole industry? I have sometimes I think of our industry as an Australia, an industry that is developing really separately from other industries. It's like endemic in itself, partly because of the regulations, partly because of the many factors. So the industry is pretty closed. It is legal, but it is rather semi-legal. And there is this little, obscene meaning of gambling. That is why we invented this euphemism, iGaming. Do you think this will change? And what is your impression of iGaming in general? Right?
Yeah, look, it's in our mission. It's in our vision 2030. Vision of Sigma is for regulated gaming to be embraced by every country worldwide. We strongly believe that governments today have little choice, if no choice, but to regulate. Failure to regulate iGaming will only lead to a government's citizens to play on websites which are unregulated, using VPNs, using other means, to end up playing on rogue websites which are unregulated, which means that the player, the citizen, is unprotected. And we don't like that. So this is what we're doing with our conferences. We're knocking on government's doors. We're knocking on ministries. We're knocking on NGOs, regulators, associations. We're leaving no stone unturned to voice this mantra that the only way to go is to regulate. We're also telling governments that there's the obvious benefit of collecting taxes, which at the moment is not being done. Players in their country are playing on casino sites, whether they like it or not, and taxes are not being collected. Technology can help us to mitigate any fears that governments may have. Today, artificial intelligence can help detect problem gambling much sooner than any form of regulation. So by having governments embracing frontier technology, make it compulsory on the operator, on the game provider to embrace the same frontier technology, then I believe the industry can grow sustainably. So we believe in regulation. We definitely don't believe in iGaming being banned completely, because that's only spiraling the problem out of control.
This is very positive. I really hope it will be happening exactly like that. And we are just a small part of this big ocean called iGaming. I mean, our company 18Peaches, since I'm not a professional interviewer. I'm a full-time CPO at 18Peaches, taking care of the product. So do you know anything about 18Peaches? Maybe you've heard of us. I don't know. Or maybe you could compare us to someone in the industry or outside of the industry.
Yeah, I love that you are building stuff which is not mainstream. You are thinking outside the box. You are attending conferences as well. You're networking. You're doing things right. And wherever you go, you will always find our support. Obvious support, introducing you to the who's who of the industry, making those connections, but more importantly, helping you in subtle ways. Wherever we can make reference to what you're doing, I promise you that you will always find us behind you square, supporting you in your journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is very encouraging. important for us. And the last question, one of the last questions we are asking all our participants to ask a question to another participant. You don't know who that would be, but just a question to a random C-level or founder of an iGaming company. Something interesting I could ask them in the next podcast.
Yeah, what makes you happy? And do you feel you have found your ikigai working in the iGaming industry?
Perfect. Thank you very much. You mentioned there are no secrets, but I think ikigai is one of the secrets that we've eventually taken from you, which is the one you've revealed.
Yeah, it's no secret at all. Yeah, ikigai features proudly at my house. My house is full of broken vases, which have been fixed by gold. That's also a mantra I believe in, kintsugi. But we have a VC fund, which we called Ikigai Ventures. And that's because we like to invest in founders that love what they do, that are good at what they do, that's helping to fix a big problem, and whose business plan will compensate them well, either currently or eventually. So if we find founders and startups that have hit those 4 points, then those are investable startups. And that's why we called our VC fund Ikigai Ventures.
It's a festive season right now, and Christmas, New Year, and all the holidays are ahead. Just to recap everything, just to make a very good resume for today's, I think, wonderful interview. Could you please share something positive? Tell something you feel needs to be told to our audience? Maybe any wishes, any motivation?
Yeah. Well, look, I was gonna address the parents out there. Yeah, I'm a parent myself of 2 young kids, but I'll address everyone instead. We all have loved ones, and just be mindful that the people that we love are around us. They all have chapters in life. Yeah, my daughters have 10, 12 chapters. Being a baby, being a toddler, being a young kid, being a young teenager, middle-aged teenager. And between one phase and another, they just leave one phase, they go on to the next. And just like that, in the blink of an eye, you have missed a very important chapter in their life. So yes, if you're pursuing an entrepreneurial journey, go for it, but make sure it doesn't come at the cost of missing those important chapters in your loved ones.
This is so strong. This is so strong and so true. Thank you very much, Eman. Lots of insights I got personally today, and I would tell it again. I think it was a wonderful talk, and thank you for your time, which is very precious. Thank you for everything, and meet you during
The next show.
I'll
see you in Barcelona. I think probably I'll probably see you in Barcelona next in January. Otherwise, I'll see you in February in Dubai, and I look forward to welcome you to our show with open arms.
That's great. See you there. See you in 2026. Yeah, and let's stay in touch.